So now we are going to basically bring this to a close today. So I appreciate all of you who have hung around till the end. I want to share just a few quick updates before we wrap. But again, I think I began with gratitude today, and I want to make sure that I really emphasize and close with gratitude because the time and the effort spent on creating this conference was not minimal, and it's very appreciative from Zoe and Dr. Sid to the whole team at Radboud, all the presenters, Julie, Drake, Tanya for helping. So I'm going to just quickly share my screen and just reinforce what our mission here is at IDefine. And we're committed to identifying life-changing treatments and cures for those with Kleefstra syndrome. And so our goal is to do that through three separate realms, and it's community engagement, it's coordinated care, and it's research. So, you know, how we do that is going to be, my apologies, is going to be several different kind of efforts, and it's going to take really an entire team. And one of the exciting things that Eric alluded to earlier, and I want to give a huge tip of the cap and expression of gratitude to Haluk Akin, a father out of Turkey who has worked with his business partner, Seda, on building the Kleefstra syndrome worldwide map. And so this is now live on our website today, where we're going to be able to really get a firm count on how many patients we have. We want this to not be an IDefine effort. This is not a kleefstrasyndrome.org effort. This is not any individual organization that's working on KS. This is a global effort to understand where our patients are, how many do we have, and we could utilize this in several different ways. One of which could just be very simply, hey, there's someone with Kleefstra syndrome that lives within 30 minutes to me. Wouldn't that be wonderful to know, to get together and do these small regional meetups? I think it would be pretty amazing. And so if everybody could go to the website and utilize this new function, it would be really, really incredible for us as a tool moving forward. In our mission, we always want to keep the why directly in front of us. And the why is our loved ones. And so it's typically the part of the conversation that I get choked up on, because I am a father to a young girl with Kleefstra, and she's my world. She means everything to me. And I know that your loved ones do the same for you as well. And we have to keep their voice and their needs front and center, because oftentimes we are the advocate. We are the voice for them. And the way that we're going to keep them front and center is through the data collection. That is a representation of their voice. We also want to engage our community through conferences like this, as well as the conference that we're hosting in person outside Chicago in June. So if you haven't registered for that, you know, another tip of the cap to Becky Libby and Mindy Kramer and Mike Goff and Julie and so many other people who are helping build this incredible conference that's geared towards our patient community and their loved ones, about how we can, you know, facilitate and support each other. Another kind of tip of the cap to Laura Slamkowitz, who helps up our heads up our community engagement, and just recently hosted a webinar on teens and adults with Kleefstra. And I hung out for the first 5 to 10 minutes and got to see Eden and Julie and others talking back and forth. And it was just super powerful. It was really cool to see that interaction. And so we're hopeful to continue to add more of those events through our It Takes a Village series, through Laura's efforts. So if you just email us at community@idefine.org, we can start building out programming together. Let us know what's important to you. And again, helping facilitate some regional meetups as the world starts opening up again and we can gather with one another. So, you know, highlights of what this past year has been. So, you know, we launched in 2020 on KS Day, and it has been an absolute sprint of working as hard as we can to bring treatments and opportunities to our patient community as quick as possible. And so a couple of highlights, if you receive our newsletter, we just showcased our efforts with Combined Brain, which is a collaborative effort with 30 other conditions, where we're pooling our resources to be able to push research forward faster. With All Stripes, we're able to partner with NCATS, which is a subdivision of the NIH here in the US, about understanding what is the cost of rare disease odyssey and how that diagnostic odyssey impacts. What are those hidden costs associated to try to further the entire rare disease community? Candid is something that I'm really excited about, that we're just announcing today that IDefine is going to be co-sponsoring. And what it is if anybody spends any amount of time in our Facebook pages, you know that GI and cyclical vomiting syndrome and bowel movements is a hot topic. It might be the most talked about the most talked about topic of discussion that we have. And so Candid is an effort to further understand that. And so in fact, Megan, who talked earlier from Rare X, Phelan McDermott, is going to be kind of one of the main sponsors, but it's also working with researchers out of Indiana University's health system to understand what's taking place in the world of GI, and especially with kind of cyclical vomiting syndrome. So there's going to be a survey, there's going to be a conference at the beginning of June. So again, just I think subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on social media. We'll keep you informed about the events there. But I think one of the takeaways that I wanted to convey is your voice matters. The topics that you're discussing, I'm trying to monitor as frequently as possible, because we want to, we're not in this for our own selves. We're in this to help ease the burden on you and on our loved ones. And so the more that we know, the more we can kind of make informed decisions about where we act and where we invest our resources. And then on the kind of industry recognition, Megan alluded to it, and we've heard this before, that we're a pretty young organization and that we're a pretty young disease as far as discovery is concerned, but we've been able to grow by leaps and bounds. And recently we were recognized by Global Genes as being rare champions of hope. And that is because of our entire team that's been contributing efforts and pushing us forward. And then Eric, who you heard speak earlier, who's joined us as Chief Scientific Officer. Eric and I have just recently been invited to Ultragenics, which is a big player in the biotech space, in the pharmaceutical space, for rare diseases. And Eric and I are incredibly fortunate and excited about attending their rare disease boot camp. And that's going to give us the tools and the network to push our effort forward even faster. So we're going to that at the end of April. And again, it's with the patient voice and our community in mind of how we can push this effort forward faster. Our team, again, this is just a few of the folks that we have contributing their efforts. So Mario and Matt on communications, Julie's driving partnership efforts, Ashley on the grant coordination, Laura on community engagement, Derek and the rest of our board really kind of helping, be the sail that's kind of guiding our journey. And then, again, the conference team, Haluk, international leaders like Sebastian Ziegler, his wife Inez, Vanessa that I've mentioned down in Australia, Michelle, and then also kind of the other partner organization leaders. So Wendy from CleefstraSyndrome.org, it really is an entire international effort. And without the contributions of everybody, we're not going to move as fast as we need to. So thank you to everybody there. Thank you to the TNC, the team at BCH, Radboud. Every time I've picked up the phone or I've emailed somebody, your responsiveness has been incredible. Kira, Maya, all the folks at BCH have just been amazing thus far. Our goal, just to put it out there, is we're seeking to raise $2 million to fund what we're trying to do. Research is not cheap. So we're working through grants. We want to raise $1 million to invest in some of the research efforts with the coordinated care centers, like the one in Sydney, like the one at Radboud, like the one at BCH. That's not enough. We need to be able to have equity and accessibility across our patient community. So how do we develop that? We need to make investments. We talked with Dr. Kleefstra on Kleefstra Syndrome Awareness Day that focus takes funding, right? So unless we're able to fund these things, then other conditions could potentially pass us by, or they will get the focus necessary. So we need to raise funds for that. Community development, the conferences that we host, especially the in-person conferences, are going to have costs associated with them. And as much as we can help offset those costs to the patient community, so as many people can come as possible, so we can, bring people in. I know Zoe and Dr. Sid have open invitations to come to Chicago this summer. And then lastly, the innovation piece is the rare disease landscape is rapidly changing. And so the more that we can be flexible and pivot as new opportunities present themselves, it will behoove us in, again, being one of those leaders of the rare disease space. So with that, bring the conference to a close. But again, thank you to everybody. If you need anything, if you want to join the effort from a volunteer capacity, if you want to host a fundraiser, I'm hosting one next month here outside of Greenville, South Carolina. And I know the Reed family has hosted a walkathon out in Kansas, and people have hosted dinners or wine events. There's a myriad of ways to host events to bring in fundraising efforts. And so if you need any support there, that's what we're here for. Any other questions, any other opportunities that you see, any other needs that you have, bring them to our attention, and we will do our best to join you as we walk the journey together. So with that, I hope everyone has enjoyed today's conference, and we will see you soon.